Welcome to NYSE TV Live. Today is Friday, September 22nd, 2023. I'm Pete Ash, coming to you live from our studio above the trading floor of the New York Stock Exchange to take you from now through the close of trading for the week. As we await the arrival of Linda Thomas-Greenfield, United States Ambassador to the United Nations, on the Bell podium to ring the closing bell, we are wrapping up an exciting week, not just here at the corner of Wall and Broad, but across the entire island of Manhattan. With the United Nations General Assembly and Climate Week NYC being held throughout the city, a number of high-profile visitors have made their way to the exchange for high-level talks and to ring a bell or two. Breaking up the week was our first SaaS IPO of the year. The NYC community of 2,400 listed companies welcomed Klaviyo, a global technology company that provides marketing automation platforms, for its public debut on Wednesday. Employees from the company descended on Experience Square to celebrate the IPO and the morning by ringing the opening bell. Let's take a look at the day through the eyes of Klaviyo co-founder and CEO Andrew Bialecki.
We talk a lot about builders at Klaviyo, and it's true in the literal sense. We've built some great products, we've built a great culture, and we've built a really great company. But it's about more than that. Builders need to see the big picture. We imagined something that didn't exist yet, and we believed that we could do it. Everybody told me for years, hey, you're a marketing company and nobody knows who you are. Well, today they're gonna know who we are. I'm really excited to share what we've built with the rest of the world, and I'm really proud to get to share this moment with all of you. You've set a standard for now thousands of Klaviyos around the world. Thank you for pushing us and believing us.
That was an exciting day here at the corner of Wall and Broad, a recap of Wednesday's opening bell, one of just a few bells this week, not part of the NYSE Institute's outreach to international leaders in town for the United Nations General Assembly. This morning, His Excellency Srettha Thavisin, Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Thailand, rang the opening bell. To recap the other important international events at the NYSE, let's bring in my colleague, the lead anchor for NYSE TV, Trinity Chavez.
From Climate Week in New York City to the UN General Assembly, it's been a whirlwind here at the NYSE. We've hosted world leaders and heads of state in a week filled with nonstop action. Now, last summer we launched the NYSE Institute, led by NYSE Institute President John Tuttle. And this initiative not only draws from our rich 230-year-old history, but it also champions U.S. capital markets and NYSE-listed companies. And with policymakers focusing on capital formation and regulation, governments valuing public markets, and exchanges going global, we kicked off UNGA Week with major events. Kristalina Georgieva, who is the managing director of the International Monetary Fund, rang the opening bell on Monday. The IMF is a global organization with 190 member countries dedicated to fostering sustainable growth and prosperity worldwide. It achieves this by endorsing policies that enhance financial stability, monetary cooperation, productivity, job creation, and economic well-being. We also hosted an event with two major Brazilian business organizations, the National Industry Confederation, or CNI, and the Federation of Industries of State of São Paulo, including a range of senior Brazilian government officials. And then for Monday's close, we had Israel's economy minister Barkat at the NYSE as a part of Israel's UN General Assembly delegation. He had previously promoted trade with Vietnam in August and discussed easier access for Israeli companies to list in the U.S., U.S. cross-border investment, and sustainable finance. And on Tuesday, Dr. Sultan Ahmed Al-Jaber rang the opening bell to spotlight the UAE's pivotal role as the host of COP28. He outlined his ambitious agenda, emphasizing how finance will support the renewable energy transition, and he also shared his aspiring goals for COP28, bringing us closer to a sustainable future. For the Thursday opening bell, we hosted Prime Minister of Vietnam, Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh. Minister Chinh hosted a major visit by President Biden to Vietnam earlier in September following the G20 summit in India. The NYSE also hosted President Sadir Saprov, president of the Kyrgyz Republic, for an official visit on Thursday. He also met with President Biden and Secretary of State Blinken earlier this week. I'm Trinity Chavez, and that's your weekly rundown. Pete, back to you.
Thank you so much, Trinity. An incredible job by our colleagues, Delaney Hassan, Justin Durbin, Will Godwin, and everyone at the Exchange to roll out the welcome mat to so many world leaders. Many of the national visitors also attended Climate Week NYSE, including His Excellency Dr. Sultan Ahmed Al Jaber, COP28's President-designate, UAE Special Envoy for Climate Change, and the Minister of Industry and Advanced Technology. As Trinity mentioned, he rang the opening bell and while at the New York Stock Exchange, sat down with Judy Shaw, host of NYSE's Floor Talk, for an exclusive interview that will be coming out soon. So stay tuned on our channel for that episode and all of our upcoming COP28 coverage. The theme of Climate Week NYSE 2023 is Yes We Can. We can, we will. Over the course of the week, hosted by Climate Group in partnership with the UN General Assembly and the City of New York, 400 events and activities were held across the city to combine the efforts of businesses, governments, and climate activists to reduce environmental change and transition the globe to net zero. Accomplishing this goal will require a global combined effort of hundreds of diverse projects. Earlier this year, we spoke with Matt Evans, co-founder of Up Energy Group, on his firm's unique way of funding its efforts to end energy poverty and improve the quality of life in developing countries by utilizing ICE's carbon markets. Let's take a listen.
We as a company have a network of people who get up every morning and focus on the cook stove work that we do in Uganda and across Africa. How can we solve the energy poverty problems in Africa? The stove works by insulating the place where the combustion of the charcoal or the wood happens. Less energy, less dirty charcoal, less wood. We also work with electric cookers that allow our users to switch completely from the dirty fuels of charcoal and wood to using electricity in places where the grid is reliable in Africa.
A carbon credit represents a carbon saving. It's either a ton of carbon reduced or removed from the atmosphere.
The fight against energy poverty helps us reach net zero emissions by supporting companies like Up Energy to work in the communities where we do across Africa. We finance that work by selling carbon credits, and the money from the carbon credits supports the work that we do to design better technology and to distribute it. And at the same time, companies can realize net zero by purchasing those carbon credits to offset emissions.
There are nature-based solutions like avoided deforestation and afforestation. And then there are technology-based solutions like clean cooking. The clean cooking ones are the credits that we're going to auction for Up Energy. So not only do they fight climate change and reduce emissions, it also addresses another key issue, which is energy poverty. So there's billions of people that don't have access to clean cooking utensils. These credits are doing two things at once, so it's an even bigger societal impact for these credits.
We also do distribution of safe water systems. These are little devices that treat water to make it drinkable so that our users don't have to burn wood or charcoal to boil their water to make it safe. It saves money and ultimately makes the water safer and allows us to deliver value for our clients in places like Uganda.
If you want to learn more about ICE's carbon markets, check out our website, ice.com. And if you're interested in learning more about Up Energy, I sat down with Matt and his co-founder, Alex Rao, for episode 359 of Inside the Ice House podcast that dove deep into their story, so check that out. Speaking of podcasts, Gordon Bennett, who you saw in that video, ICE's Managing Director of Utility Markets, recorded an episode, his debut on the podcast, with Michael Greenstone, co-founder of Climate Vault, and the Milton Friedman Distinguished Professor of Economics at the University of Chicago. The two were in town for ICE's Climate and Capital Week conference that was held at the New York Stock Exchange, one of those 400 Climate Week NYSE events that I mentioned earlier. This week's conference was centered around the adaptation, innovation, and regulation needed to face the increasing exposure to both known and emerging risks, including physical climate risk, biodiversity loss, and large-scale human migration. Gordon's conversation with Professor Greenstone and all of our reporting from ICE's Climate and Capital Conference will be out soon, including lead anchor Trinity Chavez's coverage of the event. She sat down this week for a fascinating conversation with the CEO of XPRIZE, an organization that designs and operates incentive competitions to solve humanity's greatest challenges.
Anushe Ansari. She is the CEO of the X Prize Foundation, and she's here to discuss how to harness the power of competition for the betterment of humanity. Welcome to the New York Stock Exchange, Anushe.
Oh, I'm excited to be here.
Why is it so significant that you're visiting this week during Climate Capital Week?
Well, this is the week that all the world leaders come together, and I think the hot topic of the day is climate change. And you know, we've seen a lot of talks and a lot of goals that people set, but I think now it's time for action. And I think X Prize Foundation represents action. So I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. And let's talk more about X Prize. Tell me exactly, and our viewers, how it's making a difference in the world.
Absolutely. So X Prize Foundation is a nonprofit organization. I have the privilege of being the CEO of X Prize, and I was the sponsor of the first competition. We're an organization that uses competitions to really advance and accelerate technologies towards solving humanity's grand challenges. And we've been doing it for 29 years. It's hard to believe we've been around that long. So what we do is first we study the problem. We do first principle thinking, break it down into understanding what is the root cause. And then around that root cause, we try to say, okay, what would, if the problem was solved, what would the world look like? And then we set those goals as the things that the teams have to demonstrate in order to win a very large prize. So in this case, we're asking the world to really scale solutions that they've been working on, thinking with in the labs and research centers in small companies, and really scale it up, because with the new report that came out, by 2050, we need to be removing gigatons of CO2 out of the atmosphere, otherwise we'll be in trouble.
What have been one of your biggest accomplishments so far this year?
But one is we announced the top 60 companies that are working on the carbon capture X Prize. We also announced the semifinalists for our rainforest. So we're trying to save the rainforest and our biodiversity there, but at the same time making sure that we have a long path to rebuild the ecosystems that we've lost. To them, this is a cherry on top to win the prize, and it will give them the capital they need to build out quickly.
Now, speaking of taking bold and risky chances, you actually took a bold and risky chance yourself, and you were the first woman Muslim astronaut to go to space. We just had a space forum here at the New York Stock Exchange, but tell me about your experience.
It was a fulfillment of a childhood dream and something I wanted to do since I was very young. I thought that by going to space, I can connect with the universe and understand my place in it better. And it did that for me, because when I was up there, I was able to see the world through this new lens and understand that the planet, the beautiful planet Earth that we see, is very different than those geography maps that we see in our classrooms. And you know, what we see in those maps is different colors, lines dividing us. And from up there, you understand that we only have one home, one planet Earth. And we're so connected to it and interconnected with each other. So when they ask me, you know, who I am, I don't want to put myself in a box or say I'm from here or there. I am an earthling living on this home planet. And to me, that's what's important. And you realize the importance of preserving this only home we have, because there's nothing as beautiful and nothing like it out there in the universe.
You're a citizen of the world.
I'm a citizen of the world.
Thank you for joining me today.
Oh, it's great to be here.
I can hear the trading floor behind me getting a little louder, which means we are getting very close to our closing bell. We'll soon be seeing images of our podium group led by NYSE Institute President John Tuttle and our bell ringer, Ambassador Linda Thomas-Greenfield, the representative of the United States to the United Nations. They'll be making their way across our trading floor to sign our distinguished guest book, which you can see right there on your screens. That guest book is signed by all of our bell ringers. So this week signed by 5 different sitting heads of state, as well as all of the CEOs and leaders, including the CEO of X Prize that we just heard from. Our trading floor you're seeing images of now is the last trading floor in the world with human traders, combining the best of human capabilities with the best in class technology. The New York Stock Exchange, which was acquired 10 years ago this year by Intercontinental Exchange, has been open since 1792, celebrating 231 years this year. That bell podium above their head is where they'll be making their way up to in just a few minutes. But for now, they're going to take some photos, enjoy the day as the market begins to close. Here in the New York Stock Exchange, we have a very unique market model. Our designated market makers are responsible for both the opening and closing of our securities. They will continue to take those orders up until that bell rings at 9:59 and 45 seconds until the final ring at 4 o'clock, announcing the closing of trading. They'll then shut their trading down for the weekend and open up Monday morning with our Monday morning option. It's a very unique moment. It's a very fun moment for the exchange. It's also the largest liquidity moment anywhere in the world, and our trading floor closing bell goes out across news nations across the world. So we'll be seeing the trading floor groups making their way up to the bell podium. You can see behind me the banners, all the information of who's ringing the closing bell. So as the groups make their way up the staircase behind that bell podium, you see them taking photos in front of the Jim Cramer set, we'll have just enough time to share one final video from the New York Stock Exchange showing all about that parent company, Intercontinental Exchange, the owner of not just the New York Stock Exchange, but the environmental markets that we saw earlier, as well as ICE Data Services and ICE Mortgage Technology. So we're going to see some brief message explaining the ICE, everything from ICE, and we'll be back for the closing bell right after this.
Connecting the opportunity is just part of the hustle.
Opportunity is using data to create a competitive advantage.
It's raising capital to help companies change the world.
It's making complicated financial concepts seem simple.
Opportunity is making the dream of home ownership a reality.
Writing new rules and redefining the game.
And driving the world forward to a greener energy future.
Opportunity is setting a goal.
And charting a course to get there.
Sometimes the only thing standing between you and opportunity is someone who can make the connection.
At ICE, we connect people to opportunity.
And that's just a little bit about ICE part that NYSE is part of. So you're seeing behind me, if you can see over my shoulder, you can see the Bell Podium group has made their way up to the Bell Podium. They've taken their place. And just a little bit about that, I mentioned that 15 seconds countdown. That bell in front of them, they will ring for 15 seconds. That allows our trading floor to know that the market is closing. John Tuttle up there, president of the NYSE Institute, explaining those instructions. It's a very important job. It's a very fun job, but they really need to hit it correctly. Occasionally, the bell will have a little bit of an issue, and the bell ringer will set their finger off the button, which can cause some uproar from the crowd below. But you can see that they're taking their stand across the way, and as I said, on the floor, what's happening is all the market makers are getting those final orders in. They're beginning to prepare for that closing auction, the largest liquidity event anywhere in the world. All the traders trying to get their positions in for the weekend. And it's really an amazing thing. Our floor, which has been in operation for 120 years, has been able to continue to develop over time, add the technology required, and make it happen. And that's really given value to the 2,400 listed companies that call the New York Stock Exchange home, part of that NYSE listed community, from our most recent with Klaviyo just listing this week, going all the way back to 1823 with the listing of Con Edison, our longest listed company, and all the companies that come between. And if you think about that moment, the fact the companies that have come here, it's all been possible because of where we sit on the corner of Wall and Broad, where 231 years ago the Buttonwood Agreement was signed. But that Buttonwood Agreement was signed because at that time the U.S. capital, the development of the U.S. bond markets, and so it's always nice to have representatives from the United States government coming here, because really we grew up together. Right across the street is where George Washington was sworn in 1789. We were founded 3 years later to trade the activities of that. And so we're just a couple seconds away from our closing market. I'll turn you over. You'll hear the crowd, you'll hear the cheering, and as the markets close, you'll hear the bell ringing, letting everyone know that we are done with trading for the week. So I want to thank you again for joining us on NYSE TV Live. I'm P Dash signing off. Enjoy the closing bell.
together, we built something truly beautiful in the true iconic notion of what America is all about.
This is our task, this is our mission. We have a clear focus and we have the ability to be agile and innovate.
It takes years of dedication to get us to this milestone. It is all because of you.
Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. It is the only thing that ever has.
To be a woman leader, it's not so easy, but it's easy if the passion and the love is coming from your heart.
The New York Stock Exchange is the symbol of what America is all about. Potential of capitalism, the potential of an American dream.
The only way you can move a society forward is a true expression of freedom.